something we all need. Gotta have it now if you wanna succeed. Striving, surviving, that's no doubt. Sticking together, we gon' find a way out. To all you young people, give it your all. To all you young people, give it your all. To all you young people, give it your all. To all you young people, give it your all.
Good afternoon, the back community. Thank you as always for staying involved. Thank you for staying engaged. Listen, today I have the honor, the pleasure, and the privilege of having another podcast host on here with me today. And we're going to dive into her story about what she does over on her platform, as well as some other things that we definitely want to highlight. But today, for your viewing pleasure, we have Miss Viola Lipscomb, and she is the author that we're going to talk about later, but she's also the host of Sentimentally Speaking, a platform that I did have the distinct pleasure of being on myself as well. But Vi, thank you for agreeing to be on the back community with me today. And listen, I've been looking forward to this interview, and I can't wait to dive into your story.
Thank you for having me. I've been nervous as shit being here. But I'm honored and I'm grateful. Thank you for choosing me because you had a lot of amazing people, and I'm really honored to be amongst them.
Good. I'm glad you feel that way. Hopefully you feel that same way when I'm done with you here, huh?
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Well, listen, man, I've been around you for a very, very long time. I've known you since I was young. There's a lot of people that's on the Back Communities platform that may not have ever been introduced to you, who deserve to be introduced to you. So my first formal question is, Miss Viola Lipscomb, please tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what kind of work that you do.
So I'm an Albany native, born and raised here in the city of Albany. I have done government work for the last 17 years. I worked at Albany County for 14 years, had various positions. I was honored to be able to be promoted twice within that time frame. And almost 3 years ago, I started with New York State, and I do childcare stuff, just overseeing childcare programs, making sure providers are following regulations so we can keep kids safe while their parents are out making the money to be able to take care of them. I am a mother of three, two wonderful boys and a daughter, and I am the oldest of 11.
Wow.
Yeah.
Say that again?
The oldest of 11.
Wow.
My father has 11 children. My mom has 6.
Okay. Listen, shout out to the Lewis family. Got a lot of love for the Lewis family. I didn't know it was 11.
Yeah. My pops was busy.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's 9 girls and 2 boys. So,
wow.
Yeah. And most of us start with V's. I always thought that was quite interesting that, you know, a lot of us are like V names. It was really cool telling people, and they're like, what? What's the name?
Listen, do you know how much pressure that is to come up with a consistent a V for all your kids? It's like, oh man, say, well, listen, we got to find something else cool that rhymes with that one.
And they all are really nice names. So yeah, it was pressure, but they did good. I got to give it to them.
Okay. All right. So you've been doing government work. One of the ways how I reconnected with you was actually by seeing one of your previous guests on your show. And I went out to go check the episode, and then I became a fan of watching your podcast as well. But tell me a little bit more about how'd you get into podcasting? Why Sentimentally Speaking, and what is that doing for you?
Okay, so as you can see, like, I am all things love. It's weird as that may be to people who know me, because I've always been told that I was mean, and they used to call me a bully. Rebuke that in the name of Jesus, okay? But I am all things love. Ever since I was young, I just always liked hearts and red. And, you know, I started off, one of my passion projects, which you'll probably get into, is writing books. And then after writing 7 books, and I was like, okay, that was fun. What can I do next? And I was just thinking, because I'm the type of person, I always like to reinvent myself. I just feel like, why stay stagnant? I only got one life. It's not a rehearsal. I'm going to
Facts.
do anything I can that brings me joy while I can. And I was just like, YouTube. I love that little platform there. I was like, what if I just started doing videos? And at first it was just going to be me just, saying different experiences or, telling different stories, dropping different jewels or gems. And I was like, oh, wait, I could bring other people on and we could talk about things because I'm a conversationalist. I like to talk. There's no doubt about that, especially the people that I know, I like, and that I'm comfortable with. And I was just like, okay, what could I call this platform? I'm thinking red and hearts and lips. And I was just like, well, basically it's an opinion-based segment here. So I was like, those are my sentiments. Can't nobody really argue you about your opinion. I mean, they can, but it's my opinion.
Facts.
We all have it. And then I was like, speaking, sentimentally speaking. There we go. That's it. I like it. I love it. And I'm going with it.
There you go. There you go. There you go. And like I said earlier, man, I've had the pleasure of being a guest on your platform, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. And you are right. You are a woman about love. So love is on the platform. Love is on the menu, and love is on the topic.
Okay.
But it's a huge part that consumes all of our lives. So, it's nice to have a safe space where you can talk about love in a way where you can actually grow with the material that you're taking in.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And you also mentioned, and do I want to get that out the way? Not yet. I'm gonna get out the way right now too. You mentioned 7 books. You said 7, right?
I said 7.
7. Okay. Yeah. So and I know that and I know that there's something else in the works, but we're gonna focus on the 7 right now.
Okay.
I'm a new and recent author myself. So I do understand the importance and the work that goes into creating a work of art. And you said you have already successfully created 7 pieces or works of art. Please tell me about that, about your author journey. One, what is the name? Are all 7 books part of a series, or are they separate? Tell us more about your authoring journey and your writing style, or what you have available for us.
Okay, well, yes, you are correct. There are 7 books completed. I have an 8th that is like 80% done. But I haven't been able to get it because there's just something about the storyline that I need to fix. It's not sitting well with me. And of course, I have several ideas for more novels. But I mentioned this in my first book. The way I never even wanted to be a writer. I didn't even like to read, Tyrell. I did not like to read. Reading was the bane of my student existence, and I hated it. So to be a writer is like, wow for me. So it was my uncle's funeral. Public speaking was never my thing either, but I just felt compelled. It was Uncle June. That was my guy. I was very close to him. And at the end of his life, he couldn't speak. He had a stroke. He just couldn't express himself. And I said, what would Uncle June like to say? And what could I say to make him proud? And I penned this speech. And I went up there nervous and all, probably paper shaking, but I just knew I had to do it. And one thing my grandma said, don't go up there looking bad and looking a fool. I was like, okay, pressure. So I did this speech, and at the end of it, people stood. I got a standing ovation. And I like, wow, I didn't expect that. And at the end of that funeral, a woman came to me, Miss Laura, and she goes, you should write. I was like, write what? More speeches? Like, right. She was like, just write. She was like, your words. She was like, you were captivating and engaging. Like, people were listening to you. I was like, okay. So I was like, somebody told me I should write. So I went home and I bought a laptop. I'm clacking. I was like, this shit is whack. I can't get words out. I was like, this ain't for me. Put it away. There's a lesson I learned for myself. Put it away. And then I just kept having this calling to revisit it. And once I started, Tyrell, I didn't stop until I had literally 5 complete novels.
Wow.
5 complete novels. So that was the start of my writing journey. And then people were reading them and giving me great feedback. And I was like, this is fun. And I realized I liked telling a story. I like telling stories. So all the stories are romance novels. And what I like about them is they're urban based, but not hood. You know, I'm not really into the drug dealer, the hood chick. Like, that's not me, but I'm going to talk about your working guy, your working female. They have adversity, trials, tribulations, and they overcome it. So I call it the Love Collection. And it's a collection, not a series, because I feel like a series is something you have to read in chronological order in order to appreciate the story. Whereas this collection is all of the books could be read independently, and you don't necessarily have to read the subsequent novels in order to appreciate the story that's in front of you. But if you do, you see how all the characters begin to intertwine, and it gives a bigger picture. And that was something that even after I was finished, I was like, oh shit, you did that. And I thought it was pretty cool and clever. So yeah, that's the book story.
The Love Collection is does each book have its own title, or is it all underneath the Love Collection? Like so Love Collection Part 1 or Love Collection Part 2?
Okay. So it's the Love Collection Book 1. Gotcha. The Way Love Is. Book 2.
Go ahead. You keep looking over there. You better grab one and bring it right up over here with us.
All right. So this is my first book, The Way Love Is. And you know, one thing about me is after I write the book and I do so much editing and rereading, that when it comes out, I'm sick of it. I am literally sick of the story. I don't want to read another damn thing. The characters sound stupid. The storyline sounds dumb. But I was hard on it. So I put this book away. And when I came back years later, maybe like 6 years later, I read it as a reader.
Yes.
And I was like, Viola, you did an amazing job. Like, I was genuinely proud of myself because I wasn't critiquing it as an author anymore. I was just appreciating the story. And I was like, wow. And what I love about each character is that people who read it and know me, they will see that each of them have a piece of me. It's almost like I'm leaving a piece of me on every page with every character. Cheyenne is me. Autumn is me. Skylar Wright, aka Whitney Bonestill, is me. So like, they are pieces of my personality that I may not always get to express or feel comfortable expressing. So I put it on the pages of the book and allow me to live freely through that.
I love it. I love it. And how befitting for it to be called the Love Collection for the woman who loves all things love-esque.
Exactly. Exactly. It was by design for sure.
Okay. How has the experience been as an author for you? Like I said, creating one piece of work is one thing, but to be able to say that you have 7, you know, how have you been embraced from your readers or from take that back. I'm gonna break this down. How have you been embraced from your family as an author?
I mean, great. Like, I know people say your biggest support doesn't come from your family and friends, but my biggest support came from my family and my friends. Like, when I needed to get this first book edited and published, I had a fundraiser. Like, my friends helped me throw a fundraiser, and that's when it was a comedy club right here on Henry Johnson Boulevard by Albany Memorial. I forget the name of it, but they would have the comedian come, people would pay. And it was like an entertainment / fundraiser. And then I was able to get local businesses to donate stuff. So I was able to do raffles. And collectively, I had enough money to get my book edited and published. And when they read it, it was just like the feedback was amazing. And I take all feedback. I mean, what didn't you like? My first question is, what did you like and what didn't you like? Because I want to know, because I also want to improve. And I feel like, you know, the people who aren't going to be most shy about telling you that are strangers. But I feel like there's also honesty and familiarity. Like, it's never what you say to me, it's how you say it. And I feel like they all gave me constructive criticism that allowed me to build and become a better author with each book that I penned. So yeah, that I was well received, I would say, for sure.
And it's not like I think it's very important to get that feedback, right? I think it's very important. Like, not everyone has the rapport to give you honesty, but I think it's very important to keep people around you who know how to give you honesty, transparency, and vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
And I think that being able to be embraced of those things will make you a better person. I'm sure it has made you a better writer. So so first, I'm glad you got the support from your family. How have you been embraced from your audience with the collection? How has that been exposing yourself to people outside of your family?
So with the first book, it was amazing. Like amazing. I didn't expect it to take off the way it did. And people were showing mad love, making purchases, recommending it. And I don't, oddly enough, I think I'm a nonprofit at heart because I don't do it for the money. So I have people like, oh, I let such and such read your book. And then I'll have people be like, well, why wouldn't you just have them buy it? And it was like, no, they're reading it. And in every book, there's a lesson. Every book. And you're going to walk away with something. So for me, I don't need you to purchase it to appreciate it. So that was good. And then I had a period in my life where I literally went ghost and was silent, but it never stopped my desire to write. And I still wrote, and I would just send texts like, hey guys, the next book is out, go read it when you can. I never embraced the business aspect of being a writer. It's the creativity that I enjoy. It's the art. It's the ability to tell a story my way with my kind of characters, and to leave it all on the table. And if you're going to accept it and be receptive, great. And if not, you won't. My grandmother read probably the first couple of chapters, like, I can't do the sex stuff. She put it to the side.
She said, they did what? They did what? He did it on the washing machine. We don't do it on the washing machine.
Grandma's like, no, I won't be reading those books. But then my daughter's great grandmother read them, and she texts me like, girl, I love it. So, to each his own. I embrace all of it.
Okay. Well, good, man, because it is one, I'm glad that you all already identified that each of the characters have a piece of you, because it's kind of hard to create a piece of work that doesn't have remnants of you throughout it. But you also said that, you never really embraced the business aspect of it. So, we just talked about honesty, transparency, and vulnerability. So I'm about to give it to you on that one too, because the business aspect of it is something that my wife drilled into me too, right? Because like you said, I operate like a nonprofit, right? So it's just like, listen, I will give away almost everything for free, but I also have learned to understand the importance of it, of understanding running things as a business too. Like, people have money, people will spend their money on the things that they want to spend their money on, and the time that you have poured into not only your books, but the time that you've had to take away from family events, different things like that to create it, deserves to be highlighted, deserves to be represented, and deserves to be rewarded, because there's a lot of work that goes into that one. And I hope that all 7 start to get rewarded the way that they need to be. How does a person find your love collection?
So right now, every book that I have published is on Amazon.com. And I just want to say something, right? It was easier to write fiction than it was this memoir that is sitting inside of me. Well, I believe it's Maya Angelou who says, an untold story is like the worst agony. There's no worse agony than an untold story inside of us, right? And because of family and friends, I felt like it was difficult for me to pen my autobiography or to pen my memoir in the honest, transparent way that I would like, without offending or upsetting people. Because that, part of telling my truth is also might be revealing things about others that they didn't want to. And having read your book, I believe one of my feedback to you was that I like how you navigated that. That was impressive to me. And for me, it was important to be able to write a story that I can be proud of and still be open and honest about without offending other people. And prior to me reading your book, I'd never been so inspired in terms of how you've conducted the business aspect of being an author. Like I said, I would just write. The easiest method was to plop it on Amazon and go, not create a website, not do QR codes, not get my own IBNs. It was just, it was overwhelming to me, to be honest.
Gotcha.
And as confident as I may appear to be, I still have some insecurities, and I tend to doubt myself a lot. So I wanted to say to you is that you have inspired me in ways you don't know. And I say that because maybe 2 weeks ago, I had 2 people tell me within like a few days of each other that I was such an inspiration to them, right? Facts. And that got me to thinking and said, damn, Viola, you get that a lot, that you're inspiration to others. And then I began to reflect, like, who's my inspiration? Where do I draw from? You know, and I think of, you know, my cousin Shauna's going to getting her bachelor's, getting her master's. And I was like, okay, I could do that too. And I did it. Outside of seeing her do that, I can't really say there was anybody in my circle who I wanted to emulate, because I feel like nobody had the desire to reach higher heights that I was trying to get to. And it was like, whose footsteps can I walk in? Who can be my mentor? I didn't see any of that. And that began to make me grow sad, because they say if you're the smartest person in your circle, you're in the wrong circle. Facts. And I would never look at myself as the smartest person in my circle, because I got some dope ass people in my circle. However, I also recognize that I'm lacking the idols I need to draw inspiration in order to become a better version of myself. And when I saw how you were doing your books and handling that, I said, Tyrell is my inspiration as an author. And when I'm ready to take it there from a business perspective, I'm coming to you.
Oh, listen, what does Nipsey Hussle say? The highest human act is to inspire. So to hear that, to hear that sentiment means a lot to me, and I'm thankful that not only did the book resonate with you, but the rollout of the book resonated with you. Because like I said, I didn't learn until I got on your platform. And I realized you was an author, and I'm just like, all right, cuz we're gonna do this different, because you know you got something that needs to get out there. And I think, you know, I appreciate your vulnerability, but what you just said, right, is like, there's a lot of areas in life that we may not be experts on, but we can always get better at one. Like you said, we have the motivation, the inspiration to do it, and we can see what can be done. But I already know what could be done, and I already know you're sitting on a gold mine. And it's not about the money. And I like that you said that too, because when you do something and you don't need it, you know, you can put a passion that doesn't come out of scarcity or necessity. Right. And it was just like, when you don't need it, it's just like, yo, it's huge. So you buy my book or you don't buy my book, I'm good. Right. I'm not in debt or anything over the book, stuff like that. So I felt it when you said that. It was just like, you know, you just genuinely want people to read it, because you know that they're going to enjoy the quality of the work that you put in it. But as well as enjoying the quality of the work that you created, you also want to make sure that, you know, we live in a world where we talk about creating generational wealth. You know, I know real estate is big for you too, which is why I went into my closet to go build this a real estate build wealth a sweater for you. Shout out to my man Just down at Fresh and Fly. But because I know that those are different parts of your portfolio, creating those different streams of income, creating generational wealth is huge for you. Right. And this is one of those avenues, right? One of those avenues that we, for some, we're still learning how to tap into or maximize the opportunity of it. And, you know, long story. So I don't want to stay there. I'm just like, listen, when I first seen it, I was like, listen, well, we gotta get that information out. And one, I can't wait to get it. I actually went on Amazon the other day looking for it. So now that I have you on, what do I put in Amazon to make sure that I get to this love collection? Because I didn't know the names of the books. And I started popping in your name, and nothing came up for me. So how do I find it?
So you know how, you know, you write under a pseudonym so that nobody can pop in your name and find you? I kind of didn't want to associate Viola Lipscomb with the author, which is probably why you don't see it promoting much. But I am who I am. I'm multifaceted, and I don't give a
Facts.
fuck because I'm
Yep.
grown now and I'm unapologetically me. So I do write under the name of Vi Antoinette, which is
Okay.
my first name short, Vi,
Mm.
V-Y though, not V-I, and
Mm.
Antoinette, which is my middle name.
Gotcha.
And it's
Gotcha.
Antennette.
Okay. Well, that's gonna be super helpful because I promise you, I was over here. I popped at Lipscomb. I popped at Lewis. I'm just like, well, when she gets on this show, I'm gonna ask her how to find it. You know, how to find it.
Yes,
Let me
that's
see.
my alter ego, Vi Antoinette. Yes.
Okay. Well, I have so many questions that I want to dive into with you that aren't necessarily related to the book or the platform, but I'm going to come back to both of those.
Yeah.
But on the back community, I also get a chance to intimately get a chance to know my guests, and I love that aspect of it. So I'm going to start asking you some other questions that have nothing to do with what you're already prepared for.
Okay.
So one of my favorite questions that I like to ask everyone that comes on this platform, I know I'm just talking about building wealth, right? But I ask a question about success. So if you were to define success, how would you define success by?
So, in my humble opinion, success is relative, right? I feel like, who am I to say that having a lot of money isn't successful for a person who grew up poor, for a person who grew up hungry, for a person who, parents couldn't afford a roof over their head. So to that person, being a millionaire means success to them, and kudos. That's not for me to define, right? For me, I think success is whatever you may have had a deficit in childhood, whatever void you may have experienced. And as you got older, you said, this is what I'm going to do. For a person who was homeless, owning a lot of property might be success for them. A person who was poor, having a lot of money might be success for them. Success for me personally just means achieving whatever I can achieve that puts me in a better place than I was yesteryear. There's a quote, my cousin Ratik Miller posted it, and one of my favorite quotes, and it says, today I do what others won't, so tomorrow I can have what others don't. Now, a person narrow-minded might think, oh, she's talking about money, like it ain't even all about that. But when you think about it, it's way more profound than that. Going to the gym leads to a healthier you. Seeking therapy gets your mind right. And we all know that wherever the mind goes, the body is going to follow. So I feel like success is going to mean different things to different people. And my version of success is making sure that I am able to have more than I have more today than I had yesterday.
Okay. I like it. And Ratik's statement sounds a lot like a Dave Ramsey statement too, which is like, what do you say? Live like no other today so that you can live like I'm screwed all up, but pretty much he was saying, he was like, do the things important today so that way you can live how you want to live later. So it's like, he has this whole, in his debt-free journey, he talks about having like a gazelle-like mentality to get rid of debt. And he's just like, well, all your friends or your family, they may look at you kind of different, like, well, why you don't got the latest car, or why you don't have X, Y, and Z. So it's just like, you're not focusing in on now, so that way you can focus in and live life and enjoy life how you really want to later. So, but yeah, when you just said Ratik's quote, it made me think about exactly. It's the truth.
Yeah, and it's all about perception, right?
Yeah.
So, when I was high in my marriage, I had a nice diamond ring that my husband had gave to me. And, we had this nice one family house, we both drove decent cars. And they looked at that like, oh, Vi doing her thing. She, she's successful. But also the person who no longer wears the ring, who may have sold the property, who sold the car, went to catching the bus, don't assume that person isn't successful. Because just because you don't see them with the accumulations, the tangibles, it doesn't mean that money that they sold the ring for and the profit they got from the house, and they're now comfortable catching the bus because they got rid of the cars. They're probably sitting on $250,000, $500,000,
Facts.
but they look broke to you because they don't have those worldly possessions.
Facts.
So another favorite quote of mine is never judge by appearance, because a rich heart could be under a poor coat. So let's not assume that what you see is what it is, because you'll almost kind of shock yourself when you realize what may really be going on.
I like it. I like it. And it's the truth. And it's the truth. You know what I mean? I like it. I'm not even adding nothing to that. I like it. Okay. All right. In the same line, thinking about success, and I like how you broke down your answer for it, because it varies as you mentioned. But has that always been your definition for success, or has your definition of success changed as you have grown or matured, or has that always been your stance on success?
I'm constantly evolving. So the 40-year-old mind that I have today was not 30-year-old mind of yesterday. You know, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, I don't even know what answer I would have gave you. I probably would have been like, you know, having $50,000 just laying around and driving a drop top Mercedes Benz and living on a house on the hill is successful. I don't see it that way anymore. And probably 10 years from now, my definition might change. I just knew I was always one of those people who, whatever I want to do, go and do it. Why can't you? Like, try work on it. And if I was careful, though, I was cautious because I'm not a risk taker. So a lot of the things I did, made sure that I can do them independently, because I never liked relying on anyone else for my success. So being an author to me was taking a risk if I start doing it for business, because now I'm depending on other people to purchase my book so that I can be successful. Whereas if I just do it for fun and I send it out and they like it, good. There's no, no, you know what I'm saying? It's good. Fair exchange, no robbery. It's all good.
Nope, I understand it 100%.
Exactly.
That's why I said I paid for it up front. Paid for it all up front. And I said, you know, it was because it was something that I wanted to do. It was a goal that I set for myself. If I gain or profit from it, great. You know what I mean? But if I don't, I'm also still alive, healthy, and whole for accomplishing what I set out to do. So I understand your sentiments 100%.
Exactly.
Yeah. But if you're going to do it, you might as well get paid for it.
I know, you're right. And that's why I said trust me, I like you said, I'm sitting on something here. And as a reader and a writer, my books are dope. And that's not even me, you know, bragging or boasting, because we was always taught you simmer that down. You don't brag and boast about yourself. My grandmother was big on that. But I feel like you get to a point where no, you should pat yourself on the back. So I know it's something great over here, and I'm going to revisit it. But one thing I do is I hold myself accountable, but I don't hold myself hostage. And when the timing is right, I always operated from feelings. When the timing is right, it's gonna be right.
I love it. I love it. And that should always be the motivation. The motivation should come from, you know, where it is that your spirit is leading you at the time. And everyone's doesn't have to agree or understand that. As long as you understand it and operate on that time, you'll be right on time.
Yeah.
Earlier, we talked about not being the smartest person in your circle. And I'm going back to that because, you know, as of late, my favorite comment has been audit your circle, right? I think it's very important to audit your circle. I think it's very important to be mindful of the people that you allow into your space. I think it's very important to be mindful of the spaces that you choose to be a part of. But how important is it for you when you hear the term audit your circle? How important is it for you? Take that back. I don't want to ask a question. I wanted to say a statement. When you said, like, you know, looking around, you had one cousin who had decided to go out and get her bachelor's degree, you know, and that inspired you. I wanted to make the statement about audit your circle because I think it's so important to keep good people around you, to keep a healthy circle around you that you can learn and grow from. And I think too many times today, especially in society as a whole, but definitely in the environment in which we grew up, people don't value the circle. Say, oh, this is my A1 day one. I've been around this person all my life. And I think we place a lot of value on time over quality,
Mhm.
right? And I wanted to revisit it because I didn't want it to let it just go, because I thought it was a very important thing that you said when you were talking about, I should be able to look around an abundance of the people that I'm around and find inspiration. And when I'm not, I should also be able to be honest enough with myself to say that, I'm not getting what it is that I need. And I need to find me a new tribe or a new audience, so that way, you're not just constantly taking from me, but, I'm getting somebody to pour back into me too.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to, before I went to my next question, I had to go back to that because it was sitting in my mind. I was like, Vi just said something dope that I think a lot of people need to take to heart. Just like, you want to have people around you that are inspiring. It doesn't mean that everyone has to have the biggest, the greatest, the latest, but they should be able to inspire you in some way, whether that is emotionally, spiritually, financially, but keep people around you that are going to pour into you.
Yeah.
Audit your circle.
Let me just build on that, because I would hate for anybody to watch that piece and then misconstrue, right? Because like I said, I have amazing people around me. And even though I can't draw inspiration from them to do things differently, to do things better, to achieve more, I also find that people could be an inspiration of what not to do, right?
Absolutely.
What not to do. And I find that I'm observant. So I'll watch and see how people move. Somebody might inspire me to never want to do drugs. Like, I see where you haven't gotten, and that's not where I'm trying to be. So guess what? I'm never experimenting with anything that can, propel me into doing other things. Also, people might inspire me to not settle. When I see people who are amazing or sitting on a gift or a talent, I'm like, oh my God, do you know what you could be doing? Like you are with me with the books, right? And then I'll be like, all right, so instead of not starting that project that I think they should do, at least I'm going to start mine and at least get my baseline, my foundation, because the only way to go once you have your foundation is up. You already did the digging. You already laid your platform. You just start building. So, inspiration can come from, many different places. It doesn't always have to inspire us to be better. It can also inspire us to not be worse.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It made me think about the last guy I had on before you, Ayu. He has a book called I'll Start Now. And his whole premise is that, you can't just wait for everything to be perfect. How do we get that facade out of our brains, out of our minds, that everything has to be aligned just right, just perfect for us to start? When you have an idea, you have something you want to try, just start it.
Just start, yeah.
Just start it, because you'll be surprised how you can build upon it. Even this podcasting platform that or empire that you're creating, right? It's just like, just start it. You'll be surprised. There's always an audience. There's always someone that is waiting to hear conversation that you're bringing to light. I thoroughly enjoyed your last two conversations. I'm over here laughing in my brain right now, just thinking about it. There's always going to be a space and a platform for it. But imagine if you hadn't taken the time out to say, well, you know what? I have something to say that I want to share. Let me start it. So many of us just wait and continue to wait instead of just starting. So I'm thankful that you did.
Me too. I used to have somebody be like, "You're so smart. You smart," and I was like, "No, I'm not smart." Like I never identified as smart, right? So the whole smartest person in the circle was just a metaphor. I felt like I was like, "No, I'm educated." Like I'm in the books. I got the degree, but I don't see myself as smart. But I do see myself as wise, and I think a part of that wisdom, to much credit, can come from my gram, because I find that I can learn just as much in a 2-liner quote as I can sitting in an hour-long lecture. And my gram was good at giving those one-liners. Don't point your finger, because it's 1, 2, 3 pointing back at you. That means self-reflect. Something you could always say about something else, you could say about yourself. So, start looking inward. So things like that. And I just think we all need to, I never heard the term audit your circle until you said that. Okay. But I think we all should take inventory of who's around us, who's helping us become better, who wants to see us do better, right? Because everybody who clapping may not be clapping, Yeah. So the fact that I can be around people and be an inspiration to them, as I said, your inspiration to me makes me feel good. That is my reward for my awesomeness in this world. And also knowing that it's important to add to the circle.
Facts.
Based on what we see, we can gather from others. Because allow yourself to be utilized but not used. And I never want to feel like I'm using anybody. So I'm careful of, what I pull from people. And I'm also careful to let them know that I'm pulling it. Because I never want to be the one sitting back watching, stealing all your shit, but I'm never giving you credit for it either. So
I'm with you 100% on that. And it's big. It's learned behavior though. Some people haven't learned the importance of giving a compliment. Some people haven't learned the importance of being able to say, hey, thank you for showing that to me. But a lot of that goes back to our environments in which we were brought up in, which is going to lead me to my next thing, because I have this book behind me that I know I spoke to you about when I was on Sentimentally Speaking as well. One of them is the 5 love languages, and we talked about love. I'm coming back to your favorite topic of love, but the other one was how we love, and it just made me think about something that you just said. It was just like who we are and how we love. It comes from a place. It comes from teachings. It comes from inspiration, right? Like you said, you can learn the same thing from an hour segment of someone talking, or it could be Graham's giving you a 2-second quote, right? But my question for you, because where I left off with you last time was that you didn't read the whole book of the 5 love languages, and you said you only had read the one part to find out how what your love languages was.
Right.
My question is, did you finish the book?
Let me tell you, I didn't even fucking start the book. I'm sorry if I misinformed you. I didn't even start the book. I simply just researched what are 5 love languages and how do they apply to me. So, but the one book you did say was how we love. So it's interesting. A couple people who watched that segment sent me screenshots because they purchased the book and immediately went into it. And they was like, hey, Tyrell mentioned this book. Did you start reading it? I said, I actually purchased Tyrell book. I'm going to read his first, and then I'll revisit how to love. And I know a friend who has it. Literally, I'm going to borrow it from her because I don't think she got through it. And I'm going to read that book. But it's not high on my priority list. And one thing I hold myself accountable. It's on the to-do list. But I'm not going to hold myself hostage to this book. That's why I make no promises. I said I'm going to read it. I didn't say when.
Fair enough. And I can't even get mad with that. Who can get mad that you said, well, I didn't get that book, but I got Tyrell's book. So you're not going to hear no complaints out of me at all. So, yeah. But just realizing, I think I said to you when I was on Sentimentally Speaking, how the book changed my life in no lie, about 7 to 10 days. So it's kind of like when you're sitting on something good, right? And how impactful it was for you, you want to share. When you're a sharer, just like, listen, man, I want you to experience all of the goodness, all of the same things that I am. And part of that is taking a deep dive and being reflective with ourselves, right? But how we love, just like I said, it was good. So I couldn't wait to figure out where we had gone in this small period of time if we did 5 love languages. I didn't even realize that came from Google. I thought it was just I thought you got it, only found out what yours was and jetted. But now that makes sense.
Pretty much. Pretty much. But I love it. It was like genius. And it really is true. Most people can identify with those love languages. And I just wanted to know what mine was because, be a little selfishly, but I want somebody if I'm ever asked, how do I love you? And this is it. You don't got to buy me gifts. We ain't even got to hold hands. Just acts of service. That's how you show your appreciation and love for me. Now, what's yours? So that's
But wait a minute. What if I tell you what mine is? And I'd be like, well, listen, well, mine is this. And you don't know what that is.
Well, that's why I know them enough to know what that is. You tell me one of them. If you know words of affirmation, then I know I'm going to compliment you. I'm going to tell you how proud of you I am. I don't need to read the book to give me examples. I'm pretty well versed at, speaking those languages.
Okay. You sound like my brother right now. He said, listen, I don't gotta read the book to know what's in it. He says, I can tell you was in the book.
I
But
hear that.
there's a meme that's going around right now. Have you seen the guy on YouTube who claims that he's the fastest reader in the world?
Oh shit! And he did this.
Yes.
I just saw it. I just saw it.
Listen, I don't gotta read the book.
Done.
I know what's in it. Yeah, that was funny.
That was funny.
He said, what did you just do? What was that? He just like, yeah. But let me see. One of the other questions I actually want to ask you, unrelated to your path and your passion, is thinking about. I know you mentioned the 40-year-old vibe, but think about your life's path and your life's journey vibe, right? What about your life's path are you most proud of?
Cool. I would honestly have to say not becoming a statistic, and I'll tell you why, right? So I had a baby at 15, like I'm in 10th grade, walking around pregnant. And you hear the murmurs, you hear the whispers, and things that even still resonate with me now. Oh, I don't know why she went and got pregnant. Oh, she ain't gonna be shit. Now you're gonna be tied down with a baby. What you gonna do? Be on welfare? And I'm like, whoa. Like I know I did this thing, right? But I'm not gonna let it define me, nor am I gonna let it stop me. And I'm most proud of myself for when people expected me to drop out of school. Not only did I do my 6-week maternity leave, but I got my ass right back to school, probably because I had an African tutor and I didn't understand what the fuck he was saying.
I can't wait to get back to school.
I got work that need to be done and I can't do it. So I went to school. Not only did I graduate on time in 99 with the rest of my class, but I graduated in the top 100 of my class. Nice. Like, and I had an 8 average. Like, nice. Okay, so I did that. And then I went straight to college. I wasn't taking no breaks. I didn't want to get comfortable. Went right to St. Rose, bust out my bachelor's degree in 4 years in a semester. And then I said, okay, what else am I going to accomplish? What other box? I always wanted to be a homeowner. So I want to just tell a quick story, right? So one thing, and I always feel like the right people come in your path when they need to. So I had a cousin that knew I was, going to school full time, working part time. And she was like, you applied for Section 8. I was like, no, what's that? So she told me about the program. She told me how I could get in. I found a route that would get me there quicker. So literally, I went from being on Section 8 to, and that helped me buy a home. So it didn't only help me with my rent, because the way Section 8 works, they have a program. So if I started the program and I was only paying $200 towards my rent, when I got a raise or a higher paying job or 2 jobs or something, and then they said, okay, the more money you make, the more you have to pay towards your rent. So now I'm paying $400. That $200 between what I was paying, what I'm now paying, will go into an account for me, right? So I was able to use that to put on a down payment for a house. So Section 8 helped me survive as a single mother. Then I was able to purchase a house. And then when my grandmother and them was like, we want to sell our house. And I was like, all right, let me get that property too. But before I even purchased that property, I actually worked for Section 8. Let me bring this shit all full fucking circle, right? So I went from being on Section 8 to working for Section 8 to now being a property owner who rents to people on Section 8. And I just love that program. And I tell everybody I can, like, get on it. It is a beautiful program. And you don't use it as a crutch, but you use it as a stepping stool to get ultimately where you want to be. And now I'm in a position where I don't need Section 8, but I'm allowing other people to have safe housing who do have it.
Nice. Listen. One, shout out to Section 8, because I don't care what anybody say. I literally just had a conversation the other day about, she's like, oh, I don't know if I should rent to Section 8 renters. I said, listen, don't let people guide you wrong with that foolish belief, because, during the pandemic, when people weren't getting no money,
that Section 8 money was coming.
I was getting my Section 8 rent paid. So it is a beautiful program. And I love what you just said, right? Because a lot of people don't know that part about Section 8, that Section 8 will actually set you up to be able to purchase your own home if you're utilizing it right. Correct. Most times people are just focusing in on the fact that, they have a reduced rent, they don't have to pay this. But if you're utilizing the program to put you in a better place and better position, right, It really can. Some people just like, well, I don't want to work anymore because, I'm going to have to pay more or whatever it is. But I'd rather just stay here. But there's so much more opportunity. I love how you said you went full circle.
Yeah.
You went full circle. So that means that you would be the poster child of what it could be. And now you own multiple properties, right? You're an author, you're a podcast host, and you have your own steady income from your job. So when we talk about creating generational wealth, I mean, you are embodying that by.
Thank you.
Right. And it's just like, hey, well, you know what? And imagine not having someone to showcase that for you or to show you these plausible paths that you could embark on. And you're living that, you're doing that, you're going to be not only the example for your 3 kids, but for everyone else who gets the chance to listen to this podcast, to watch this podcast, and to learn more about you and what you're doing. That's why I said I wanted you on the podcast, because oftentimes people will look at somebody else, or people don't think that you're successful until you get to a certain status where, you got a bunch of followers and stuff like that. Those things don't impress me. What impressed me is realizing where a person was to where a person is, how the content of that person's character is. And I knew that you had a dope story that deserved to be highlighted and shared, because we know too many people who are on Section 8 who might not know the full capabilities of where they can take it. And just be like, oh, well, you know what, this is a mindset, I'm just going to be staying here. No, boo-boo. If you know how to use this correctly, you can and you will be a homeowner. You will build generational wealth for you and your kids, right?
And what people don't know is that Section 8 doesn't only help you supplement your rent, it'll help you supplement your mortgage. They want to see you be successful, because homeowners mean that you're going to take care of that property. You're investing in your community when you're a homeowner, because you got someone who's situated there, who wants to see the neighborhood thrive, and hopefully you're a good person and is contributing to exactly that.
I like
and
that.
All tenants aren't going to be amazing, picture perfect. Like, one thing I pride myself on was being a really good tenant. Like, kept up with the property, pay my portion on time. Like, that's what landlords want, right? They just want somebody who's going to take care of the property, communicate when shit go wrong, pay your portion of the rent, and don't be destructive. And a lot of people ruin that for themselves, because you are literally getting top-notch assistance and are blowing it. But Section 8 do inspections. They want to make sure that the tenant is not living foul, and it's just really good. So I do promote the program as much as I can.
Listen, and I'm glad that you did. I'm glad that you do. One, because I just think there's a stigma. If I'm being honest, there's a stigma with Section 8 that doesn't necessarily need to be there, right? And there's so many positives if utilized correctly of what you can really obtain. And just like anything else, it's just like information is only as good as how you use it, or So I'm glad that you talked about how it went full circle for you and the amazing things that you were able to do utilizing that program as a starting point.
Yes. One thing I do want to add to is, so I didn't mention it. I don't, but
what, you got another stream of income?
No, I don't. But remember, I said I'm a nonprofit at heart, right?
Yes.
So part of, I think, being a person who has accomplished and achieved a lot is sharing that with other people. So one of the things that I do is I don't talk about a lot, and maybe only a few people know I do it, but actually I speak to teen moms. Every year I'm invited to give talk to teen moms. And that is my passion audience, because I was once one of those people. And it was important for me not to become a statistic. And I had to talk myself, be my own motivational speaker, my own inspirational engager, because so many people doubted me because I was 15 and pregnant. And I have, Mrs. Lip's top 10 list. And one of the things I tell them is don't stack the cards higher than you can shuffle or deal. Don't put yourself in a position where you're going to have to keep struggling. Yeah, you might have one baby. Some of y'all might have two, but please don't go and have more when you know you're barely making it now. Wait until you're solid and you're stable. And that's why there's 8 years between my first child and my second child. And there was a lot accomplished between then. And I just feel like so many people, do things in the name of love. Well, I love him and we're having a baby. Get that. I was on birth control for a long time because I knew I did not want to slip up again. It was important for me to make sure I was solid before I brought another life into this world. And that has worked in my favor.
I appreciate the responsibility of that, right? And just saying, hey, well, you know what? This is where I started at 15, but I also said, well, I don't want to put myself in that situation again until I'm ready.
Exactly.
Right? And, so many times that isn't what we hear of. That isn't the story. It's just like, oh, well, you know what? I started on this path. I'm going to keep going down this path. And before you know it, I'm underneath water, I'm drowning and I don't know how to get from up out of this situation. Yeah. But I'm glad that you're also giving Jules to take time to stop, to reassess what I need to do to move forward. And when you made a decision to go forward, Vi, it sounds like you didn't look back. You didn't stop. Like you said, man, you went to school, you graduated on time, you went straight to college. So, when you decided in your mind that this was the direction that I was going to go into, you didn't look back. And then you also made healthier decisions moving forward that not only benefited you, but benefited your kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there a name for the program that you typically work with? Because you made me think of an earlier guest I had on season 1, Candace, who came on, and she talked about her experience as well as a teen mom, being pregnant when she was in high school, and then how everyone wrote her off, but she had to say it. You know what? Your dreams don't stop. Your goals don't stop. It's because you have a kid that early. And in a lot of situations, they become your motivation to get it right.
Absolutely.
But that sounds like an amazing program to relay that information to. So I only asked if you wanted to highlight the organization, but if not, that's fine too.
Okay.
Yeah. My second to last question for you, Vi, is a fun question. We're both from Albany. I love Albany with all I got. What is your favorite place to visit in Albany and why?
So Albany County or just the city of Albany?
What do you mean Albany County? It's all the same thing.
Not really. I mean, because when you say Albany, one of my favorite places to visit is the Crossings Park. But that's not in Albany. It's technically the town of Colony, right? So I'm going to give you 2 answers.
Okay.
I love Crossings. Because first of all, it's a beautiful.
I should have changed what I said. I meant to say, what is your favorite place to visit in the Capital District area? Because that would have allowed you to my bad.
Correct. It's all good. So one of them is Crossings Park. Tyrell, is something about that park that is just soothing to my soul. I think I love seeing the pond there. You got the walking grounds, you got the playground, you have the maze. But what touches my heart most is the diversity. There's not a day when you can't go to Crossing Park and see Black and see white. You see Hispanic, you see Asian, you see Muslims, you see Indian. Like, it's just so diverse. And I love that. And I said, when I moved from Albany, I would love to go to a community like that. I do appreciate that part. And the other one is museum, fucking hands down. Like, I don't know what it is about. Maybe it's nostalgic because when we were growing up, we
facts. That was the place to go. Any half day was at the museum. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. And then I think about that little yellow bus that sat in the back. That was my favorite attraction. And the little teepees, I don't know, I'm probably mispronouncing, but it was just like, I like the museum. So to just walk there and just the quietness and the stillness of it. It's just, I would go sometimes just by myself and just chill.
The TPs was my spot to go only because it was the darkest spot in the museum and I could go ahead and get my feels on. I'm just gonna be honest. So no, I love the museum for all of the wrong reasons. That was definitely my spot.
Yeah. So yeah, those are my 2 favorite problems.
Okay. Okay. All right. And I had it. Hold on. Don't. Nope. Why did I lose it?
I don't know, but while you looking, I want to say something to you. So I heard you speak of this park on Judson and Livingston.
Yep.
Never even knew a park was there. I just thought it was a parking lot. So I have to remind myself to go check it out.
Okay. Oh, I got it now. But no, so it is actually the second largest urban park, and I think I mentioned it in the prologue of my book too, in New York State, right? And they named it after one of my mentors who passed away, who was a huge community activist and advocate for everybody, Brother Yusef Burgess. But when I say Vi, they turned that thing into something beautiful back there.
Wow.
We remember Tivoli Lake. It was just like, it was almost like the Gully Man, or back there. You don't really want to go. Was nothing back there.
Right.
Oh,
that's it.
Yeah, right there. Yeah,
I'm gonna make it my business to visit that place.
It is. They have livestock back there now. The paths are amazing. It's a spot that you can sit in the back, right over all of the water. And I'm a water guy, so I can just sit there and just be lost in my thought. But it is amazing what they have done, and they're still they're on to the next phase of the development back there. So when you get a chance,
no idea. So thank you for bringing that to light. No idea.
Okay. All right. And I found my last question for you. Thinking of the younger version of Vi, right? Thinking about when you were young, thinking about maybe even that 15-year-old, or before or after. What is something that you know now that you wish someone would have told the younger Vi?
It's okay to grow, it's okay to change, and it's okay to evolve, right? And I think about that. First thing that comes to mind is relationships, whether it be romantic relationships, friendships, kinships. A lot of times you have this, you got to stay loyal. You got to stick it out. Their family, their friends, that's your husband, that's your wife. And one thing I realized, that I don't take shit from anybody. And a lot of times I feel like we place ourselves in positions that we're not completely happy or satisfied in, just because it's the right thing to do, or just because we're supposed to do it, or because we're expected to do it. And one thing I learned is that the person I was yesterday is not the person I am today, and it's okay to outgrow people, places, and things. And I didn't learn that for a long time, and I've walked away from some significant relationships because it no longer served me. Not saying that I'm selfish and it has to always be about me, but I know what I give. And the saying, I know what I bring to the table, so I'm not afraid to eat alone, that's real for me, because I know I'm a kind person, I'm a loving person. And if you show me an ounce of that, I'm going to give you ounces in return. And when you constantly are giving, for me, the basic is appreciation. But when you don't even get that sometimes, or when the person isn't reciprocating the way you would like, or the way I need, I could speak for me. It's time for me to walk. And I'm not going to allow anybody to hold me back. And it's okay to change. It's okay to move on. It's okay to grow, and it's okay to evolve. And a lot of times that might mean leaving people behind, but maybe they weren't meant to go where you're trying to go anyway.
I love it. And it's the truth. And, like I said, it goes to that earlier part of the conversation where I said everyone is holding on to their A1 day ones, or, holding on to family, friends, relationships that no longer serve a purpose, probably for anyone involved. And I think one of the most healthiest things that we can do in some situations is let go of the thing that no longer serves purpose to either of us. Right. So, I was something I've definitely been dinged on by some of my family and friends over the years, because I have the ability to let a relationship go. I have the ability, that's just not romantic. That's just like friendship. It's like, if, we're not moving, we're not operating in the same way anymore, it doesn't mean that I got to talk bad about you. And I think we talked about this before, just like, on your show, it was like, if I love you, I love you, you know what I mean? But if the best thing I can do is love you from afar, I will do that as well.
Exactly.
Right? So no,
Yeah.
okay.
And last thing I want to say, because actually that was off the top of my dome and straight from the heart. I wasn't planning to say that.
Yeah.
I wanted to say too is what people think of us is none of our business. Too often, right? We be like, well, she said this about me or he said that about me, but they never said it to you.
Facts.
So unless it's said to you, it's none of your business. And I just feel like we get caught up in what people think, what people say, and we should just move past that because it doesn't define us. We define us. And as long as we can, walk with our heads up and be proud of who we are, what someone else thinks and says shouldn't even matter. So that was another piece. So both those two things I'm swearing by, and I am living unapologetically me.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Listen, Vi, it's been real, but I know that you are a woman who gets to the bag, and you have multiple responsibilities on your plate. So one, I want to say thank you for affording me your time this evening. Thank you for being on the Back Community. Please tell my audience how and where they can find you. Website, social media, YouTube. How does one find you, support you also underneath VY Antoinette?
By Antoinette.
Antoinette, I was there.
Antoinette,
I was close.
yeah.
I was close.
It's okay.
But yeah, tell us how we can find you on social media. Tell us how we can find you and find your books as well.
So sadly enough, I'm really not you're not going to find me on all things social media, but I do have the YouTube page for Sentimentally Speaking. I also have that on Instagram. And as far as Vi Antoinette, I've left her in the shadows a little bit. She exists, but if you want to find those works, they are on Amazon.com under VY Antoinette with all E's. And it's called The Love Collection. So those books are there.
Yep.
No
I'll be
personal
ordering
website or
mine
anything
today.
yet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'll be ordering mine today. Now that I know how to find you.
Yeah.
But once again, Vi, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. I'm extremely excited for this 8th book being finished up. I'm extremely excited for all of the things that you have coming your way in your near future and in your far out future. But thanks for sharing. Thanks for being honest. And thanks for being vulnerable on other topics outside of love. Because I know love is always on the menu. So
yes, it is.
Thank you,
Tyrell. I appreciate you for having me. I really do. You could have had anybody in the world, but you chose little old me. And I am grateful.
That's right. Well, listen, man, you have yourself a wonderful night, man. I'll catch up with you later.
Absolutely. Peace.
Later.
Keep climbing up the ladder. A Black Lives Matter. It matter. So all you young people, give it all. 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 Matter. A Black Lives Matter. They matter. A Black Lives Matter.